What's up? What's up? What's up, party people? What's going on? It's your girl, Nick. Oh, shoot. What happened to Pat? We kicked Pat out. I guess he'll be back. But, anyways, what's up? We got Tay on the ones and twos. You know, I love saying that. And we got a new producer, y'all, in the house. What's your name, boo? What's up, Trey? Tay and Trey. Lord have mercy. Tay and Trey. For real? For real. Um, okay, guys. So what's up? I hope y'all had a great week. It says my mic is muted. Which mic is muted? Okay, perfect. No. Only when Pat is on. So this month we have been talking about personal growth, personal development, and we basically been diving into why personal growth and personal development is so important. So tonight we're going to talk about personal growth and responsibility. We keep harping on accountability because accountability is important. Like you have to be accountable for your actions, your words, your inactions. You have to be accountable to yourself for your own growth and development. So I want y'all to check something out. I hope I do this correctly and it works. So here we go. Can y'all see that? Yay. Can y'all hear that? Can you hear it now? Well, crap all. I hope not.
Bad things do happen. How I respond to them
Okay, well, let's try that again.
define my character and the quality of my life. Thank you, miss. Let's go. Girl, I want to encourage you today as I carry this message with me as well. In whatever adversity you face, because it's inevitable, watch how you respond when adversity occurs. Be the individual that doesn't focus on the problem, but seeks the solution.
I want y'all to hear the whole message. Let's try
Y'all,
that.
I just missed my flight. This morning at Atlanta's airport, they had the TSA lines, the security lines backed up all the way to baggage claim. The lines were so long that people was almost standing outside. And when I first got here, I was about an hour and a half early to my flight thinking I was gonna make it, and I missed it. I was complaining, I was frustrated, I was upset. And I had to really sit back and ask myself the question, what does that change? And y'all, there was this quote that I read this morning that really checked me, really put me in my place. And the quote read, I'm responsible. Although I may not be able to prevent the worst from happening, I'm responsible for the attitude toward the inevitable misfortunes that darken life. Bad things do happen. How I respond to them define my character and the quality of my life. Thank you, miss. Let's go. Girl, I want to encourage you today as I carry this message with me as well. In whatever adversity you face, because it's inevitable, watch how you respond when adversity occurs. Be the individual that doesn't focus on the problem, but seeks the solution. Because how you respond to the adversity that you're faced with defines your character and the quality of your life. It's a good day to be great. Let's get it. Y'all, I just missed my flight.
All right. So let me be the person who is responsible for my actions, basically. Let me be the person who don't dwell in the ish. Let me be the person who rises above the adversity. Let me be the person who takes responsibility for me showing up. I take responsibility for me showing up. I take responsibility for my actions. I take responsibility for my attitude. I take responsibility for my thoughts. Hey, Pat,
Hey,
let
hey.
me be the person. So, the reason that stuck out with me is because as we focus on our self development and as we grow, we have to be the person that is accountable for our actions, our thoughts, our words, our attitudes, our emotions. We have to be responsible for what we put out in the world. So, part of personal development and growth is learning how to navigate your emotions, learning how to navigate how you deal with other people, learning how you navigate this wonderful field and journey of life that we're on, regardless of the situation. I'll be the first to tell you when I'm at the airport, I already be on anxiety alert anyway because I don't like flying. But when I have to go through TSA and I have to stand in line for over 15 minutes, my attitude get real bad. Be the person who rises above that because it's not your fault. It's not their fault. It's not really anybody's fault. Things happen. Pat, what you thinking? Did you even get to see the video?
I did.
Okay.
I actually had the opportunity to see it earlier. And good evening, everyone. And just one of the things that I want to consider, because again, as we're continuing to talk about, um, you know, self growth, management of self, I just want to um, just share something that maybe if people looked at it in this regard, it may cause us to look at things a lot differently. And what I'm starting to realize is that we spend a lot of time trying to manage things that are out of our control. And like case in point, I can't manage people. I can only manage agreements. Hear what I'm saying? We can't manage people. We can only manage agreements. Man, the first time I said that, I had somebody to just blow up because they was like, oh my God, like that's not, I don't want to have to do. I'm like, but think about it. Even the scripture declares, how can any two walk together except they agree? So when you're holding someone to an agreement, watch this, Nick. Then it goes back to when we talked about at the beginning of the year, we even talked about this last year multiple times about boundaries. And remember, a boundary doesn't hold people accountable. A boundary holds you accountable to self. People don't respect boundaries. When I'm setting a boundary, I'm saying what I will and will not permit or allow. So when this brother is saying, I missed my flight, watch this. When he got to the airport, he couldn't control the fact that there were other people there. So why am I going to go through the airport and be angry as if like I'm the only person catching a flight? And then you also have to consider the culture and the climate that we're in. Isn't TSA out of work again?
Yep.
So you're dealing with disgruntled people who aren't being paid, but they have to work. They don't have a choice. Y'all, they don't have a choice. They gotta go to work even though they're not being paid. And we expecting these people to be hospitable, pleasurable, happy, welcoming, with a smile, and they have to show up every day. And now we're asking for a lot from the world. We're asking for a lot from people. And at the end of the day, He was like, no matter what is going on, and I love this one thing, which is something that I always say, that we typically are reactors and not responders. See, notice that they called EMS, fire department, police, they call them first responders. They don't call them first reactors. They call them responders, because in a crisis, when they're responding to a crisis, the purpose of their response is to resolve. So that means that if in a relationship, in life, in business, if a problem arises, your reaction just creates another problem. Whereas if we respond properly, it'll bring peace and resolution. That's why I tell people oftentimes, we're not after resolve. We're not after resolution. We ain't even after agreement or alignment. I want to be right. I want my way to be accepted or heard. But when you talk about the difference between reaction and response, that's what he's stating. I didn't react to getting to the airport and had to wait 2 hours in line and then had to go through checkpoints and then still miss my flight. I'm responding. And response means none of these things that happened could I control. So let me find a restaurant. Let me sit down and eat something that I've never eaten. Let me enjoy. Let me people watch. Let me do whatever I need to do until the next flight comes and I'm out of here. But what I will not do is react. I will respond, because responding keeps me at peace.
And here's the other thing about that too. Like with this last part you said, responding keeps me. You said responding keeps my peace, right?
Yes, it keeps me in peace. It keeps me in alignment with self. Yes, it keeps me at
So
peace.
it's funny that the message today on the table is relax. So when you're doing your personal growth and development, give yourself the grace to relax. Give yourself the grace to measure your response. Give yourself the grace to think more clearly about what your intentions are as you develop yourself. Why are you looking at me like that? I can't with you. You have to be flexible. You have to relax sometimes the standards that you put on yourself in order to go to the next level. And the psychologist is blinking his eyes because did I just say something wrong?
No. Let me ask a question. Think about your present life as it is. And I want everybody that is listening, I want you to consider something. Because we're always talking about, people always talk about who they are. Watch it, I'm going to mess some people's minds up. We always talk about who I am, and I'm being my authentic self, and I'm being who I am, and Let me ask a question. If you had no billboard, no signage, no anything, and somebody walked into your life and your life represents business of self, how would they be able to identify your business? I'm going to explain it a little deeper. If I walked into a Starbucks and there was no sign outside that said Starbucks, I've been inside enough Starbucks to know what the theme of their building looks like, what the smell. Y'all, come on, watch this. Even the building, when you go into a Starbucks, it has a fragrance. You identify it. There are certain things that just sets it apart, that that is different from me being in Starbucks than being in what's the brothers place? I can't think of the name of them that call themselves competing with Dutch Brothers. You know the difference between the two. I know the difference. Watch this. Even though they're both chicken, I guarantee you there's a different fragrance when you go into Popeyes versus going into Kentucky. even though they're both chicken. If I didn't see a sign outside, the fragrance would tell me I know the difference between the smell of a flame broiled burger at Burger King versus a grilled burger at McDonald's. You can walk in any McDonald's without seeing the golden arches. And just based on how it smells, how it looks, you will know it's McDonald's. I'm asking the question because everybody is so clear about who they are. And I'm being myself and I'm authentic. How are we able to identify the authentic you? How are we able, because your authentic self, and I'm going to tell this to people and you ain't got to like me, but you can't whoop me. Some of you are frauds. I'm saying it to your face and not behind your backs. Because if you have a different face for every place that you go in, then you are not you. But you keep wanting to tell the world I'm authentic. So then that you would be authentic no matter where you are, no matter where you go. Your fragrance would be the same. Your attitude would be the same. Because I keep telling people all the time how we have selective outrage. People keep thinking I'm being funny. I'm going to get a t-shirt made, and our t-shirt is going to have big ass letters that say, but that's different. Because for some strange reason, everybody in the world, when you hold a mirror to their face about them doing the same thing that they don't like being done to them, their response is always, but that's different. How is it different?
But then that goes back to the message we've been saying since the beginning of the year. Not only do you have to do the work to become your authentic self, be your authentic self, present yourself authentically at all times, if possible. You have to then turn around on the other side of that and become someone who is self-accountable. Because if you are not accountable to yourself, there is no personal growth. You can't be, you can be productive, but not really. Like if you don't have accountability to yourself, you will never be accountable to others because there's no gauge.
Well, it's very hard to play a game when I have the ability to move the goalposts. And the thing is that for people that I like in favor, they only have to run 10 yards to get to the touchdown. But for those that I put, but for those that I put a different standard on, can you hear me?
Now, that's better.
Okay, I was saying that it's very difficult to play the game with someone that keeps moving the goalpost. So if it's someone that I like in favor, then they only have to run 10 yards to get to the touchdown. But then if it's somebody that, I want to put a different standard on them, I'm going to move the goalpost 300 yards down the field, and you have to do 3 times the work to be able to appease what I desire from you as it relates to connection and relationship. And yet there are other people that don't have to do the same degree of work. And so go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So, but we will say, everybody will say, well, again, watch this, but that's different. The only thing that makes it different is what I choose. You and I both know that I love Country Wayne. I love Country Wayne skits. That's one of my favorite pastimes. I get tied into it. There is a character on Country Wayne by the name of Rolanda. And for those of you who look at Rolanda, have you noticed that every man in those skits, she gives a hard time to? Kendrick don't get no grace. Kendrick Cross. Malachi doesn't get grace. You can name any man that she has any dealings with. They don't get no, but for some reason, Anthony Dalton stood up and ruined her wedding, but she's still his friend. Anthony Dalton's wife had to come get him from her house, but she's still his friend. Anthony done crossed her in business and backstabbed her and stole companies from her and did stuff to undermine her in business. But for some reason, and for those of you who follow the script, I'm telling the truth. For some strange reason, she give that man more leverage than she give any other man in those skits who haven't done 1/10 of the things that Anthony has done to her. And when people called her to it, because Malachi said all the time, if I were that light-skinned boy, you wouldn't do ABCXYZ, and she would get mad and upset. But if it's the truth, then this is what you just talked about self-accountability. Then you have to ask yourself, then why is it that I give him more grace than I give other people? Why is it? And if I then have to answer that question to self, a lot of people don't want to sit in self and have to deal with that truth. And the truth of the matter is, I do it because of how I feel. Watch this. Not about how they feel about me, but because how I feel about them. And it is a hope that they will reciprocate that feeling, even though everything has proven otherwise that they'll never do it.
Okay, but when you're equating that back to personal growth and development, then
Okay.
I would say she is not in a growth mindset.
Absolutely.
She's in a stagnant
Absolutely.
place.
She is in a stagnant place. But now the thing is, can you tell her that? And will she accept that as a truth? Because when you're talking about self-accountability, if I'm not able to point out to you where you're stagnant, then how will you ever grow?
Well, but she's never going to receive that message because she's not in the mindset and the place to receive it.
Absolutely.
So, which goes back to this entire discussion for the month of self-development and self-growth.
Self-development and self-growth.
You have to be in a mindset. You have to be in a position. You have to be open to accept the feedback to grow. Whether that feedback is coming from a mentor, a family member, a friend, a colleague, a teacher, a boss, your kids.
But I have to be willing to accept it if it's coming from those people, because the one thing is, here's the thing. If I have breached a degree of trust with you, nobody else can explain for you how you feel. I have to be open to hear you. Correct. Now, if I'm not able to hear you, then it's kind of like how it was when we was growing up as kids. We hear stuff, and then it takes another unbiased party to come along and say what somebody else says for us to receive it. Now, here's the thing, and let's just be real. When they then came back and then told you, okay, yeah, you were right. Yeah, I understand how you feel. You didn't feel vindicated or justified. You actually felt offended that it took somebody else to come along to tell you how I felt when I told you myself and you couldn't hear me. I don't feel justified if you accept it from another party. And I know people will say that, well, maybe it takes somebody else to cause you to see it. Okay, but here's the thing. Even though it takes somebody else, and here is the hard part, it might take somebody else to cause you to see it, but you have to understand that it will not take that person to make me want to reconcile the damage that it caused, because the only person who can fix that damage is you. Another party can't fix that. Another party can't do that. So even if you point me to the light, I still have to do the work. The repairer of the breach is on me if I'm the one that breached.
Correct.
I have to do the work. That's why we call it in counseling shadow work. And a lot of people are scared of doing shadow work, because you only see a shadow when there is a casting of light.
Well, but that again goes back to having personal accountability.
Personal accountability is on the list.
Responsible to yourself.
Ooh, to who?
To yourself.
Wait, for the third time, one for the Holy Ghost. Hallelujah. Who?
To yourself.
Okay.
You have to be responsible to yourself.
Got it.
You have to have ownership into the things that you are attempting to grow and develop in yourself.
No. That's for the other person.
No, that's for you.
No, it's no. That's for me to make you see how you err it.
No, that's for you, the person.
No, that's not. No, how is that that ain't self-accountability. It's my job to point out where you are wrong. That's my job.
No, it is your job to be accountable. Going back to what we said in the beginning, you're supposed to be accountable for your own actions,
For your own actions.
inactions, thoughts, feelings, development, what you're putting out there in the world. That is your responsibility. It is not the other person's responsibility to do that for you. It is personal growth and development for a reason, because you are growing yourself, you are developing yourself, and any amount of change that is needed by you or required by you or desired by you has to be undertaken by you.
By you. Well,
By
that's just
you.
like looking in a mirror, which I've never understood this, but this is the only way I can explain it. But people are looking in a mirror, but seeing somebody else's reflection
That's because you have built your identity on other people in society
on other people. Absolutely.
instead of basing your identity on who you are and understanding who you are and what makes you you. That's why I tell people all the time, it is inherent on you to do whatever work you need to do to unpack whatever trauma you experienced in your life, to leave behind any hurt. And I'm not saying it's easy to do that, but you owe
It's
it to
not,
yourself to do that.
but you owe it to yourself. Let's preach Lion King for 30 seconds. Simba's just dangling through the woods and he bumps into Rafiki. And Rafiki is having a conversation with him about his father. Now, remember, in the life of Simba, his father is his trauma point because he watched his father die.
Hmm.
He watched his father get trampled, but his identity was connected to his father. So he felt like, that he would never fully understand who he was or is without his father's physical presence speaking to him on earth. Rafiki then tells him, he says, like, hey, I got a message from your dad. I'm paraphrasing. I got a message from your daddy, man. Let's go see your daddy. He's like, you knew my daddy. He's like, I know. He's like, excuse me, I know your father. And he's like, let Rafiki show you the way. And he takes off and he going through the jungle. Simba takes off behind him and they get to a pool of water. And then he says, and here he is right here. Watch this. He then looks into the water and he says, I don't see my father. He says, you got to look deeper. He then touches the water. He sees a reflection. What does his father do? The father's reflection, y'all come on, school. Let's go to school real quick. He did not talk of himself. He reminded Simba who he was. Because I even teach this to my children even now. Every wise father teaches his children how to live in his absence.
You have to.
And so the reason why I'm talking about this is because when you're talking about self-development, you're talking about self-growth, I want you to just hear this. His father had to remind him that you will never become who you need to be if you're always trying to walk in my image. Who are you? Remember The King and I? If you look at y'all just go back and look at these movies. I love these movies. But if you go back and look at The King and I, when the king died in the movie and he asked his son, he says, if you were king, what would you do? And the son began to tell him the things that he would do if he was king. And he ended by saying, I think. And he says, why do you have to think? Either you are king or you're not.
So what that means is,
Come
as
on.
you are determining how you will pursue your personal growth and development,
Who are
it
you?
goes
Come on.
back to you understanding who you are, what you are,
Who you
what you're
are.
trying to
Yes.
become, what you have decided you will become. So again, it goes back to being self-aware, self-accountable, and responsible for what you are putting out in the environment, in the atmosphere, how you interact with people, how you treat people, how you think about yourself and others, what you say to yourself and others. All of that ties into your personal growth and development, because if you do not know who you are, you do not know whose you are, how are you going to continue to grow?
And if you just go along to get along when this is not even who, then does that make you authentic? Can I claim? Can I really claim? Y'all, come on. I'm just trying to say it in a way. I'm trying to say it in a way that I don't want to offend nobody. But some of you are trying to say that you are authentic, but you are literally putting some of y'all are, and those of you who are depending on where you are, you're using High Top or Fiesta brand cola and trying to put it in a Coca-Cola can. Just listen, and it doesn't taste the same. And this is what we are trying to do with our lives. Y'all, we are trying to pass being authentic and just putting it in a different can. I don't care how you dress it. The fragrance is you're going to know it's not Coke. You gonna taste it ain't Coke. Y'all, they keep talking about Pepsi is the real thing, but you know the difference between Coca-Cola and a can that just say cola on the side of it.
Yes. It ain't.
Y'all, we knew the difference than going into the store and getting a pack of Oreos and a pack of black cookies that just said cookies. There is a difference.
There is a difference. So you basically, this whole month has been about understanding what you need to do to develop yourself in a way
Yes,
that continues to promote not only the things that you plan to accomplish for yourself, but it continues to promote who you are authentically. And you cannot be authentically you if you have not dealt with your past, if you have not done the work to deal with your trauma, if you refuse to be self-accountable, if you refuse to be accountable at all, you cannot show up as your authentic self if you are not putting the time into developing and growing yourself.
And that's for you to do. Y'all, do we realize how unfair? I mean, seriously, what's crazy to me is sometimes we can say, I know how difficult I am to deal with. You can say that out loud because you know yourself and to thine own self be true. But then at the same time, we will get mad at somebody for not wanting to deal with us. Mm-hmm. When you just admitted that you're difficult to deal with. Okay, so then if you know that you're difficult to deal with, then give grace to the people that really want to deal with you. Because there are some people that got a taste of you and they put you in the trash.
Oof.
There are some people that got a whiff of you and they was like, I'm done. But there were some people that stuck around because, again, they wasn't trying to change, and y'all better hear me in the Holy Ghost. They wasn't trying to change your flavor. They was trying to make you represent your brand in a way that it was authentic. Stop trying to pass yourself off as a Coca-Cola when you're just cola. Be okay with being a cola. Put yourself in a cola can and stop wearing a Coke dress. Put yourself in a Pepsi can and stop trying. Just because you listen, I'm going to be real. Just because you put shoes in the garage, it ain't going to make it a car. Now, your shoes will get you where you're going, but you're going to have to walk. It's going to be effort to get there. It ain't going to be driving. Just because I put something, just because they say you can put boots in the oven, but it don't make them biscuits. At the end of the day, I know for a certainty that I am not the easiest person in the world to get along with. So I give grace, I give understanding, I give clarity, because when somebody chooses you authentically, it doesn't mean that they're not going to challenge you. It's just saying that you're worth the challenge.
You're worth the challenge. So
that's the difference. It doesn't mean that I'm not supposed to be challenged. They're just saying you're worth the challenge. Stop getting mad because somebody keep holding a mirror to your damn face.
So
accept the challenge, grow. Be different.
So, some core principles of personal responsibility are ownership, meaning, again, you have to acknowledge your role in success and failures. No excuses.
Say that. Ownership means I have to accept my role in both ownership, in both successes, I'm sorry, and failures.
No excuses.
Ownership, if I'm owning it, ownership means I have to accept my role in both the good
And
and the bad.
no excuses.
No excuses.
Proactive action, meaning don't wait for others to fix things. Take the initiative in your personal and professional life. Responsibility,
Two
meaning
words. Come on. Compound word.
responsibility, meaning focus on controlling your responses to situations, as you cannot always control external factors, what we were talking about at the beginning. Take responsibility for what's going on. You don't have control over external stuff.
And you
And
know, once you release a bullet from a gun, you don't control its trajectory
nope,
or its destination.
or its destination.
And when you shoot something and it lands, it's too late once the damage, as much as you want to. You can't say if I shot and I meant to shoot a particular person, but shot a different person who was standing by the person that I meant to shoot. Just because I didn't mean to shoot them, don't mean I'm not going to jail. It's called involuntary
Manslaughter.
manslaughter, meaning you didn't mean for that person to die, but because your reactions to the situation caused you to do in a way that they did die, you're still responsible. You're still accountable. So once you release a word from your mouth, once you call somebody something, once you say something, in other words, when you react, you better think long and hard before you do, because once you do it, you can never say it once, you can never unsay it. Do it once, you can never undo it. And as much as you think that you want people to forget how it made them feel, they may forgive you, but they will never forget how it made them feel.
And then the last core principle is self-compassion. So treat yourself with kindness, give yourself grace, set
Give
realistic
yourself
standards.
grace.
Learn from your mistakes and rather than dwelling on them.
Give you a key point. Nick, I had a conversation, and my daughter is sitting down and she's outlining a lot of stuff that is going on in her present reality. And she was just data dumping. And she's telling me, and I didn't mean for this to happen, and I wasn't meaning for this to happen. And she was just going down the list. And I asked her a question. I said, all of those things are fixable. Watch this. If you're willing to do one thing. And she said, what's that? I said, be honest with how you got there.
Mm-hmm.
This, I can tell you right now why healing doesn't come in relationships, in marriages, why people don't give themselves grace, why forgiveness isn't acceptable, why it doesn't come, why the mercy seat is still empty in certain situations, because people are talking about where they are, but nobody is willing to be honest about how we got here. And if you are able to be honest and say, I really recognize how we got here, being honest and doing that would allow you to fix it. Because if you can't be honest of the path that it took to get to the problem, you'll never fix the problem.
Correct. Which is why you have to build in strategies for the growth, which are setting clear goals. We beat that with a dead horse.
Beat it again.
Be clear in your goals, meaning define actionable goals that align with your values. Self-reflection, regularly journal or meditate to review your actions, choices, and progress. You have to look back at what you're doing in order to move forward and grow.
Can I put a tidbit in the daily journaling?
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to, it's rhetorical, but why is it that when people journal, they only journal about what they experienced, never what they did?
Ooh.
Pause.
Yeah.
Think about that. When you're journaling, nobody ever journals and says, but I cussed them out and I told them that your mama ugly and I told them that your breath stink and I told you to go to hell and I said I never want to see you again and I told you this and I told you that, and then they responded. No, what they say is they made me feel this way. They did this to me. They said this to me. They did this. They did this. And so when you're going back and reflecting, you're only reflecting on a person's response or reaction, but you never journal and say, I know I need to work on my anger because if I worked on my anger, maybe I wouldn't have said this to them. I know I need to work on this, so forth and the other, because maybe if I was stronger in this area, I would not have accused them of something that they didn't do. I know this is a self-growth part. I know that I need to work on doing this because maybe I need to see them better. Maybe I need to expect better from them, and maybe I will treat them better and talk to them better and do. But when we journal, we only journal what we experience, never what we cause. Nobody ever writes down the pain that they caused other people. You think you done lived in this world 40 years. You think you done lived in this world 50 years and you're just a victim?
But I would suggest that people who journal like that aren't journaling, they're just recording. There's a difference.
So then there is a difference then between journaling and recording, because you're not journaling, because you're just recording. And why do we record? According to 1 Corinthians 13, love does not record wrong.
It doesn't, but
and why do people record wrong? Because I always want to be able to pull back up the record for what you did. But when I journal, journaling starts with me reflecting on self and starting with what I need to do for me to be better.
Correct. Because when I journal about not only the experience, but I journal about the entire experience, like
the entire experience.
What led me.
So the entire experience makes me also what?
Accountable.
Thank you. Accountable. That's what journaling is. But if I'm only writing down what happened to me, that's me recording. That's not me journaling.
There is a difference.
There is a difference.
Recording and journaling.
You gonna put your cash app up tonight? We gonna get some coins tonight. Somebody go bless the bishop cash app. Okay.
Another strategy is seeking feedback, and we've already talked about why feedback is important. Because you need to seek actively input from mentors or trusted friends and advisors to address any blind spots you might have.
But nobody does that, Nick. Remember when I asked that question once before, that I said, what if relationships came with surveys?
Yes.
And what does a survey ask you? A survey, they never listen. They ask you one or two questions about, did you like the product? This. But then what does a survey really ask? How can I be better? Correct. What can I do better? How did you feel about my service? How did I make you feel about purchasing with me? If relationships came with surveys and people really asked their partner, how do you honestly see me? And how do you, and really took honest feedback to the point that I'm going to take that to build my company and to build my brand and to be a better person. Again, you can't get around it. But a survey is the same thing as what we just noticed about journaling. Journaling and recording are two different things, but people are not taking honest surveys in relationships. What they are simply doing is finding a way to put the mirror or the spotlight back on the person, because I'm only reflecting on what's being done not what I'm doing.
Correct. And then that leads to the final strategy, which is continuous learning. Because if you're not setting your
Wow.
goals, if you're not self-reflecting, if you're not seeking
You're not
feedback,
learning.
you're not
You're
learning.
not learning.
So
You're not learning.
strategy for personal growth requires continuous learning because you have to dedicate yourself to acquiring new skills, new knowledge, so you can improve.
Here's can I give you something that's a detriment? And I'm being very honest with you. Never if I'm experiencing you, okay, and there is something that I want to experience with you, let me give you one phrase that if you use it, I'm telling you, it's a death. It's death to anything that will be forthcoming to come after this statement. You tell them, well, another person didn't like if I'm experiencing you and then you told me that somebody else that you've experienced didn't complain about that.
You know, I hate when people do that because I'm gonna be real honest. The circumstances in which that person experienced you are not the same circumstances in which I
Absolutely.
experienced you.
You know why? Because our desires wasn't the same.
Desires weren't the same. So
I didn't. He didn't. They may didn't desire to know you in this realm. They may didn't desire to go to this in-depth level of life with you. So it was okay if it remained in that. But when you do that, yeah, and I'm only saying this because, and this is really, to be honest, this is not me casting off. This is me being very transparent with what you said, because I can only tell you how it makes you feel. Because again, then here would be my next statement to that. Then if it was such acceptable behavior, why is it that person still here?
Correct. So here's I'm gonna use my one of my own situations. So I was dating this young man, and everybody who knows me knows that Nick is real busy. Nick has a lot going on. Nick, between work, caregiving, my own businesses, I have a lot going on. And even though I was upfront with this young man about what my schedule was, how my life is set up, how I maneuver, how I move, this person got very upset because I wasn't spending enough time with him during a certain season at work. And that season at work was my fiscal year end. So I'm always busy during fiscal year end because I do contract management. And so even though I was upfront with what the expectations were at work, upfront about what my timing is, upfront about what that month of my life looks like, he got very upset and then said to me, how can anybody have a relationship with you if you are he's muted. How can anybody have a relationship with you if you're going to be that kind of person and never be around and never allow people to spend time and never do blah 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 blah. So simply, so no, it's not true, because
no, I'm listening to him saying, which is what I'm hearing you. Like that's true. How can you? I'm saying that's true.
So, but it wasn't true. Because even though I'm busy, see, you didn't get the whole story. Even though I'm busy, I still made time because that person was important to me. But instead of focusing on I still made time, he was focused on, well, you can't be in a relationship with people because you are so busy. Even though I was upfront about that one little snippet of the whole year where I don't have, where time is not my friend because of my responsibilities, because of the office. So when you see people complaining about things, you have to think about what is the environment? What is the backdrop of how they are experiencing you? So rather than me saying that's not true, that's not this, that's not that, I understood where he was coming from. But at the same token, now when I'm very upfront about, these are my busy times at work, these are my busy times because I'm a caregiver, these are my busy times because I have businesses on the side, these are my busy times, blah, 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 blah. Because my growth moment was, if he's experiencing that from me, how can I turn that experience that he had and make that not something someone else has? Even though it wasn't completely true, what he said, I still had to take his experience and learn from it and become better. So in my next relationship, that is not the argument. It's called personal growth and development for a reason.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
You said you told him this though from the beginning.
Yes.
Okay.
But that was still his experience.
Okay. Even though you told him.
Even though I told him, even though I still made time during the busy time, even though that was still his experience.
And this wasn't consistent. I'm going somewhere with this. This wasn't consistent throughout. This was only during a certain season.
Correct.
Okay. And even though I told you, and even though you heard it, did he understand it?
I would venture to say no, he did not. Because
and all thy getting, get an understanding. So what a person hears and what a person understands can be worlds apart. Two things can be true at the same time. I said it before. You can be a good husband and a bad father. You can be a good father and a bad husband. You can be a good mother and a bad wife. You can be a good wife and a bad mother. Two things can be true at the same time. That daddy walked in the door and his daughter runs and throw her head on her daddy's chest like superhero just came home, while the wife is over in the corner looking at him saying, gritting her teeth, and I hate him. I can't stand what she'd fall down the stairs. And both of these experiences are going on at the same time. So the reason why I'm asking the question is because I hear you, but is that actual self-growth and self-accountability because you were honest? Now, here's the thing. But you're saying that so you're considering what he experienced. And you're saying, I don't want this to be a problem in my next relationship. But was it a problem when you're explaining it? When is it that where you were not honest about the situation, or you just had a person that was void of understanding?
I had a person who was void of understanding, but if that is his experience, I don't want to take that into my next relationship, because that experience was the downfall for the relationship. Because
okay, but if you're going to still be busy in the next relationship, watch this. Do you still have the same responsibilities in this relationship that you had in the last one? Are you still a caregiver? Do you still have seasons that you have to be in and out of the office where some days require you to do busier work? Is there moments? So the lifestyle didn't change. What you have to have is, here we go. Two things: alignment and agreement. Because if you understand but don't agree, that makes it a problem. I heard you, but I don't agree with that. I'm just telling you, I heard what you said, but I don't want a woman who's busy in the office. I don't want a woman who has to be a caregiver for her mother. I don't want that because I don't agree with that. That doesn't fit what I want. And that's really, to be honest, what he should have said up front. It would have been better if he'd have said up front, I understand that, but I can't deal with that. I don't see where you did anything wrong. I'm not saying that you did say that you did something wrong. I'm saying that you just had a person who was void of understanding, because if the conditions are the same in the next relationship than they were in the last one, then the only thing different is you now got somebody that understands that you are a caregiver. You have
It's
somebody that understands that there are times that you require certain levels and degree of concentration to your job and your role. It's just like case in point. It's like having a couple that they are together, but one person works out in the office and the other person works from home. And you want me to respect you going to the office, not to have weighted conversations so you can focus on your job. But when you're at home, you want to argue, yell, and scream while I'm trying to work. Is that the same respect?
no, it's not.
Because even though I'm working from home, I'm still working.
Well, and that goes to the question we just got from the gallery. Hey, Auntie, why do humans expect more from others than themselves? And I'm gonna say, goes back to what you said
Ooh, I
earlier.
like that
It's
question.
different because it's different. Because what applies to you doesn't apply to me. But when you're in self growth and development mode, everything is a learning experience. Everything applies to you.
Ooh.
Everything that you expect from somebody else should be what you expect of yourself as well. So I'm going to venture to say that it's because we deal with a lot of people who again have no self accountability,
Oh, wow.
have no responsibility to themselves. They don't have responsibility to others. So that's why they expect more from other people than themselves.
Well, you think about this. Let's look at our culture and climate today. You can pull up 1,000 videos on TikTok. You can look at the Kendra G show. You can look at Pop the Balloon. You can look at a trend that we are being inundated with across the country. You can have, and I'm not saying this just to degrade, it's just not just a woman thing. I'm just saying because it's what we're looking at. You can have a woman that is on a show that will say that she has 5 babies by 4 different men. And neither one of them, and they say, well, what is the baby daddy doing? One was a drug dealer, one in and out of jail, this, so forth, and the other. But then she'll turn around and say, but I want a man making $250,000 a year, and he got to be 6'5", and he has to be this, so forth, and the other. Now you want somebody, you've never demanded this out of anybody, and he got to have a perfect perfect credit score, and this, so forth, and the other. But your credit score look like a little league football game, and I'm just trying to understand why. Because to ask that question, it's funny how in this society now, people are talking about what they deserve. And really, if it was what you deserved, you would be different. Watch this, about what you align yourself with and what you agree with, because I would never agree to anything that doesn't align with my purpose.
Correct.
And if this doesn't align with my purpose, you can't ask of me what you can't produce. You can't ask of me what you can't give. Don't you dare tell me that I better have a perfect credit score and you don't have, or I better have this and you don't have that. No, we can't do that. We're not doing that. But that's what the society that we live in, where people are demanding what they can't produce.
And so, but again, that goes back to, as a profession, as personal development goes, people don't hear themselves. They don't think about what they're saying. They're not listening. And we got to wrap it up.
Yeah, we're over time.
You have to go back to being in alignment, knowing who you are, but that requires that you put the work in so you can continue to develop. Parting thoughts?
Great conversation. Nothing else needs to be added to it. Awesome points. I wrote every last one of them down there in my notes.
So guys, just as you take these shows into consideration for this month, personal growth and development is important. Please take responsibility for yourself.
Yes.
Please be accountable for your actions, your inactions, your thoughts, your desires, your emotions, your attitudes. You have to be responsible for what you're putting out there in the world.
Nick, can I leave with one quick thought?
Yep.
I want people to see the image. Watch this. You can't have my back if we can't see eye to eye. I
Mm.
want to say it one more time. You can't have my back if we can't see eye to eye. What am I saying? If your back is turned to me and my back is turned to you, we're not seeing eye to eye. The only way you can watch my back is if you can stand to look me in my face.
Ooh. All right, that's it. That's all. Same time, same channel.
This was good.
We'll catch y'all next week.
Blessings.
And what I will tell you about next month's shows is you need to come prepared with notes to take notes. We're gonna drop a lot of nuggets because we're going to talk about getting your finances in order. And I will tell you that up front because there is too much going on in this society for you not to have your financial shit together. And I did say it like that.
True.
Get your financial shit, get your financial house in order.
And I'm gonna help you, but it's gonna come with a cost. It ain't free.
Exactly. Do you think we will ever get back to community where we take care of each other? Ooh, Auntie, that's a good question. Only if we can have people not be selfish, become
It's the
selfless.
desire. Will it become a reality? We're a long way from it.
We're a long way from it, but we
Yeah,
can get back there.
we can
We
get
we
back to
have
this.
to
Yeah,
we have to start being self-accountable again. And then we have to,
that's
once
a
we're
very good
accountable to
question, bro.
self,
Wow, very
then
good
we can
question.
be accountable to other people. So peace out, y'all. Hang back.